So the first thing we need to know is that there are three different forms of graphs. These are our factorized form, which is where we have a, the dilation, brackets x minus e, brackets x minus f. So we have a, and then we have our factored quadratic behind that. Then we have our turning point form, which is a brackets x minus h squared plus k. And this is the turning point form because we know the values h and k give us the turning point. And then we have the expanded form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, our standard quadratic form. So for the factorized form, it can be used if we know the two x-intercepts and another point, and we'll look at that in the example. So for this example, the x-intercepts are -3 and 4, and it passes through the point 1, 24. Find the rule for the parabola. So we know when we want to use a factorized form, we need to know both x-intercepts, which yes, we know, and we need to know the value of a point, which we do know. So now we can solve using our factorized form. So first we'll start off with writing down our factorized form, which is y is equal to a brackets x minus e brackets x minus f. And so now we're going to put our x-intercepts into our equation. So it becomes y equals a brackets x. And because we have minus e and -3, the two negatives cancel out, and it becomes x plus 3 brackets x minus 4. So that's our equation. We still have one unknown, which is a. And to solve for a, we are going to sub in the point that we know. So y will equal 24 and x will equal 1. So 24 is equal to a brackets 1 plus 3, 1 minus 4. So now in our heads we know 1 plus 3 is 4 and 1 minus 4 is -3. And 4 times -3 is equal to -12, and -12 times a is equal to -12a. So we now know that 24 is equal to -12a. And now we want to divide each side by -12 so we can get a by itself. So 24 divided by -12 is -2, and so we know that -2 is equal to a. And now we just write a into our formula. So y is equal to -2 brackets x plus 3 and brackets x minus 4. And that's all we need to do. Okay, so here we have our turning point form, and this can be used when the turning point and another point is known, and we'll now see it in our example. So here the turning point is 2, 6, and it passes through the point 3, 3, and we need to find the rule of the parabola. So first, let's write out our equation we're going to use. Because we know the turning point and it passes through the point, this tells us that we want to use the turning point form. So y is equal to a brackets x minus h squared plus k. And so we know the reason it's called the turning point form is because the values h and k give us our turning point. And so because we have our turning point here, we know that h is equal to 2 and k is equal to 6. And so we can now put these into our form. So y is equal to a brackets x minus 2 squared plus 6. But now we still have one unknown, which is our a. So like with the factorized form, we're going to sub in our point. And our point is 3, 3. So y will equal 3 and x will equal 3. So we'll have 3 is equal to a brackets 3 minus 2 squared plus 6. And now 3 minus 2 is 1. When 1 is squared, it remains as 1. And a times 1 is just a. So we know that 3 is equal to a plus 6. Now we want to get 6 away from the a, so we have the a on its own, so we know exactly what it's equal to. So we can just subtract by 6 from both sides, and 3 minus 6 is equal to -3, and so we know -3 is equal to a. Now we just write it in our formula. Y is equal to -3 brackets x minus 2 squared plus 6. And that's it. And now we have our expanded form, and this can be used when we know the coordinates of 3 points on the parabola. So for our example, a parabola passes through the points 1, 4, 0, 5, and -1, 10. So the first thing we want to do is we only know 3 points, so we know that we're going to be using our expanded form, where y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And now the first thing we're going to want to do is we want to sub in our first point. So we have 1 comma 4 and we're going to sub that in. So 4 is equal to a bracket 1 squared plus b plus c. So we know 4 is equal to a plus c plus b plus c, because 1 squared equals 1 and 1 times a is just a. So that's the first one we have. Now we will sub our second point in. So this is point 1, and now we will sub in point 2. And for point 2, y is equal to 5 and x is equal to 0. So this is actually our y-intercept. So 5 is equal to a brackets 0 squared plus b plus c. And without doing actually all of this work, we know that c is equal to 5. Why? Because b times 0 is 0, a times 0 is 0, and so we just have 5 is equal to c left over. So therefore 5 is equal to c. And now we can sub in our third point, where y is equal to 10 and x is equal to -1. So we're going to write 10 is equal to a brackets -1 squared minus b, and we know c is 5, so we can write plus 5. And so now we know 10 is equal to a minus b plus 5, and this is because when -1 is squared, -1 times -1, 2 negatives make a positive, which leaves us just with 1. Okay, and now we actually want to get rid of this 5, so we have our two terms, the a and b, on one side, so we can prepare for simultaneous equations. So we're just going to minus 5 from each side, so we know that 5 is equal to a minus b. And now we're going to come back to our point 1. We know that c equals 5, so we can now write that 4 is equal to a plus b plus 5. And now to get rid of the 5, we can subtract 5 from both sides, and so we now know that -1 is equal to a plus b. And so now in the middle of our board here, I'll draw up a little square just to keep it separate. We're going to do our simultaneous equations. So 5 is equal to a minus b, and -1 is equal to a plus b. And so now we're going to add both sides together. So 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. A plus a is equal to 2a, and b and -b plus b, or it could also be said b minus b, they cancel each other out, and so we're left with 4 is equal to 2a. Now we want a by itself, so we can divide both sides by 2, and therefore 2 is equal to a. So that's our a value. Now we have the equation 5 equals a minus b, so we can sub our value for a back in there. So 5 is equal to 2 minus b. And now what we want to do is we want to get rid of this 2, so minus 2 from both sides. So we know that 3 is equal to -b, and we don't want the answer for -b, we want the answer for b. So we need to times both sides by -1, because 2 negatives make a positive, and then we'll get b on its own. And so because of this, we know that b is equal to -3. And so now we've got all our points, we can write out our equation. Y is equal to 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. And that's it.